So already this year, I've personally had 37 different smartphones stashed in my pants. Some have been good, some have been so boring that I could burst into tears, and one was so depressingly cack that I'd rather have an agitated raccoon stuffed in my shorts. Give me a severely slashed scrotum over a sodden iPhone any day of the week. And you don't want to know how many takes it took me to say severely slashed scrotum. But hey, we're not even halfway through the year yet, which means you can expect another 40 odd smartphones to emerge before 2025 is finally hoyed into the overflowing dumpster fire of years that are best obliterated from memory. But which of course Google Photos won't ever let you sodden forget. So grab yourself a stiff drink, unbuckle your belt and get the Kleenex handy. Here's a half-arsedly researched squint at some of the biggest and best Android phones coming in the next couple of months. Jingle me. Tech Spurt Weekly! So let's start with one of the biggest, and some online leaky blokes reckon that Google will be launching its fresh new Pixel 10 series on August the 20th. And it seems that little has changed over last year, so you can expect a Pixel 10, Pixel 10 Pro, Pixel 10 Pro XL, and that big old bendy bugger, the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. All sporting very similar looks to this here 9 series. So they're still a bit too iPhone-y for my liking. But still, the regular Pixel 10 should apparently come in some rather striking colours, including ultra blue, smoky green, and limoncello. That last one already predictably your Uncle Spurt's pick of the bunch. Honestly, I wish that all phones came in a booze-inspired selection of colours. Perhaps an aftershock range, for instance, so your phone can match the colour of your piss after a night down the big market. Meanwhile, the Pro models will apparently come in the usual selection of whites, blacks and greys, plus that smoky green, but not a limoncello in sight. And of course you can expect a fresh Tensor chipset, which is no longer pumped out by Samsung, but rather the catchily named Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Although it sounds like Google will go with the same Exynos 5400 modem that you saw in the Pixel 9s. As for the camera tech, well, apparently the hardware for the Pro models will be unchanged from last year, while Google has gone for smaller sensors for the Pixel 10, but also crammed in a bonus telephoto shooter, which was missing from previous base flagships. The smaller sensors would be less effective in lower light situations, but hopefully Google has managed to tweak its processing smart so it looks just as good as always. And if the Pixel 10 wants to call itself a flagship, it would be great to see a proper telephoto lens slapped on there, especially as we're seeing mid-range smartphones like the Nothing Phone 3A and 3A Pro emerge with that technology for just 300-400 quid. Now the Nothing Phone 3 will be one of the first big launches of the summer, already booked in for the 1st of July. And I already banged on about it for a good 3.5 minutes in last week's episode, so go give that a squint if you want to know more, or, don't if you don't want to. I'm not the boss of you. And technically I'm not the boss of anyone, except for Mr. Wangsock, and he doesn't listen to a bloody word I say.
Listen to you! I can barely even look at you without vomiting blood, you pig ugly.
But yeah, long story short, appears to be getting more expensive, replace the glyph lighting with dot matrix shenanigans and hopefully top-end specs. And of course Samsung is also expected to spaff out its fresh flexible phones sometime in July, the Fold and Flip 7, with the promise that the Fold 7 will be the thinnest, lightest and most advanced foldable yet. Bold words for sure, as there's some pretty skinny jobbies out there, the likes of the Oppo Find N5 and the Honor Magic V3. Unless of course what Samsung actually means by that statement is the thinnest, lightest foldable that they have ever produced, in which case it just needs to be marginally slimmer than Jason Momoa's thigh. And as well as a skinny design, the Z Fold 7 will apparently also boast a creaseless screen, which is tech that Samsung showed off at MWC. And in their own words, the Fold 7 will come packing ultra specs. So you can expect a big upgrade to the camera tech, presumably with the same 200meg sensor stuffed in that S25 Ultra flagship. And another upcoming foldable that's got my trousers tingling is the Honor Magic V5. And if you're wondering, hang on, what actually happened to the Honor Magic V4? Well, Honor has skipped straight from the V3 to the V5 because the Chinese consider the number 4 to be unlucky. And that's because if you say the number 4 times in front of a mirror, the Count from Sesame Street pops through the window and bites your face off. The Magic V5 is apparently even skinnier than the V3, possibly ripping the crown from the Oppo Find N5's head, while Honor has also reportedly boosted the battery capacity to a chin-strokingly massive 6,100 mAh. Now you can also of course expect Snapdragon 8 Elite performance and upgraded camera tech, possibly including a 200 meg telephoto shooter. That is, as long as these leaks don't turn out to be, as Jeff Goldblum once perfectly summed up, a big pile of shit. And last up, though it is lacking in Google goodness as usual, don't forget the Huawei Pura 80 series, which literally just launched in China. These should be rolled out globally in July, boasting the usual fancy pants camera tech and trouser tent inducing design. And there you have it, my lovelies. That's some of the biggest and best smartphones set to launch in the next couple of months. But which one really cocks your pistol? Definitely let us know down in the comments below. And now make sure you've got some paramedics on speed dial, because this next bit's so tremendous it'll probably give you a stroke. Uncle Spurt, we won. It's a short review, not his penis. Say hello to the Innoviva slushy machine, so now you too can recreate those brain-poundingly boozy slushes from your Tenerife all-inclusive extravaganza right there on your sofa. This clever wee bugger can't just spaff out a slushy, though it can also knock up a perfectly good milkshake or frappe or any cold thing that you pour down your throat. All you have to do is hoist stuff in the top, tell it what to make, and then bugger off and do something else for about an hour or so until your drink is ready. The actual time required will depend on the ingredients, the volume, and how thick you like it. For your mum, that will definitely be extra thick, wink wink. For my first foray, I opted for a simple beer slushy using a suitably wanky fruity lager, although I possibly got a wee bit carried away when selecting the thickness, so it ended up slightly more firm than expected. It was certainly the only beer that I've ever needed a spoon for, but hey, it was still pretty bloody lovely, even if the brain freeze f***ed me up worse than the actual alcohol content. You can bung a couple of litres of liquid in there at any given time, with the only stipulation being it has to contain at least 5% sugar. And if you're hoying booze in there, well, the alcohol content has to be between 2.8% and 16%. So no, sadly, you can't just chuck a bottle of whiskey in there and get yourself a single malt slushy. But you can create yourself a dark and stormy slushy or something of that ilk. And our milkshake experiments were certainly more successful than the beer efforts, in that you were slightly less likely to choke on them. This thing spunked out a delicious Biscoff frappe, which I'm thinking of bottling and selling to in Shoreditch for 20 quid a pop. And once you're all done, thankfully it's not too much effort to whip off all the main bits and give them a good old rinse ready for the next time. My only real complaint is that the Innoviva slushy machine could do with some sort of magical timer that'll tell you roughly how long it'll be until your slushy or frap or whatever is ready. But apart from that wee grumble, it's a cracking kitchen accessory, arriving just in time for another washout British summer. Uncle Spurt, we won. It's a short review, not his penis. So that's my wee one for another week. Now it's time for the part of the show that makes my head hurt even worse than a beer slushy. It's viewer comments. Viewer comments.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Let's start this week with Striv, who says, the fact that you're just shitting out a new video every day is actually amazing. Yeah, shitting out, that metaphor is rather apt. Now, it's pumping out like a video a day just seems natural to me, and I'm certainly not working half as hard as I used to when I had a proper job, like when I was at Mobile Choice magazine and my entire team basically consisted of me doing the magazine and website and everything. I think it was about that sort of time that my relationship with alcohol blossomed from heavy petting to a full-blown bukkake fest. Jesus says, the Johnny Vegas cameo was wild. It's the crossover we didn't know we needed. Let's face it, there's few things on this planet that couldn't be improved with a wee bit of Johnny. L3ILO says, here watching this instead of all of those Nintendo Switch 2 reviews. And Xerxes Vortiger, is that your actual real name? Because if so, you've got the coolest f***ing name outside of a James Bond film. It says, hi Uncle Spurt, are you going to be doing a Switch 2 review despite your general lack of available time and overworked wrist issues? So lots and lots of comments asking where the hell is my Switch 2 review, and no, for once I didn't just get drunk and forget. Nintendo UK just hasn't sent me one in for review yet, hopefully soon. Now, at first I was a wee bit worried that they might not want their lovely new console appearing on such a vulgar, potty-mouthed channel, as it might ruin their family-friendly image. But then I remembered that approximately 80% of the Switch Online store consists of homemade hentai games where the object is to every. But yeah, Switch 2 looks banging despite the crazy price of the games and everything, so hopefully full review soon. And Xerxes also asking, do you still have that brewing machine and how's that going for you? Keep up the good work, I can't wait to see the local derby back next season. Away the lads. The brewing machine, the iGulu, I do indeed still have. It's in the garage. I occasionally bust it out to try and produce a slightly less fizzy brew than my first effort. In fact, the next one I'm going to try is a stout, just a nice regular stout, no weird caramelly, marshmallowy bollocks. None of that diabetes in a glass. And abso-friggin-lutely, mate, how are the lads? It still seems unreal us being back in the Premier League after, what, 8 years or whatever. Although after the Wales-Belgium VAR debacle, I'm not looking forward to that so much. Lunar Vision says the audiobook sample was gold. I would definitely purchase the full version. Alright, so there you have it. That's my plan B for when AI renders us content creators completely redundant. Although presumably all audiobooks are just going to be read by AI as well. So I guess I'll actually just go f*** off and live in a cave somewhere, licking the lichen off the walls. A bit of feedback for my Doom review in the last episode as well. Bad Acid says, best video game review ever. And frankly, I'm just going to stop scrolling right there because I'm pretty sure all the rest would be just as positive. And of course, the actual subject of last week's episode was the Nothing Phone 3, which, as I briefly mentioned earlier in the episode, if you didn't skip past that bit, is set to launch in just a couple of weeks. So plenty of reaction to that, including Avi's one who says, the glyphs were what made me want a Nothing Phone. Here's hoping the dot matrix can fill those shoes. And Craig Daly says, I always wondered what the lights on the back of the phone were for when you actually look at the front, but I can see the appeal. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if Nothing implements any fresh new features with the dot matrix panel on the back end. They should do, because they'll be able to do a lot more with it than they could ever do with the glyph lights. So hopefully they'll do a lot more than just flash for notifications and do your timer shenanigans and all of that. And Marge Tech Ting says, I'm here for the dot matrix design from Nothing, but I know that someone is going to make a TikTok where they have it lit up with slurs, and their next TikTok will be them having it removed courtesy of a proctologist. And yes, this and the fact that super mature people like myself will have it displaying a spunking cock and balls is the very reason that I believe that Nothing won't let you customize what actually appears on that dot matrix panel. I reckon it'll also be quite a compact panel on the back there, so you'll only be able to fit really tiny words on it, like tit you might just be able to squeeze on. Next up, blur, or is that supposed to be said like blur, like metal style? Blur. Could never do that, really annoying. Anyway, blur says, dude, it just feels like Nothing Phone is launching at random times. Well, the Nothing Phone 1 and 2 were both launched in July, summertime as well, although of course they missed last year, so that somewhat ruins the pattern. Dustin Troy de Guzman says, long time no see, Spurt. It's been almost 2 years since I last saw your vids. Well, by my count, then that's just over 500 videos you need to catch up on. So if you start now, you might just about be done by next Wednesday. Dustin continues, damn, that increase in price better be worth it. They should honestly slap in the latest SoC if they're going to be competing within that price range. And I have a few other comments saying basically it better be Snapdragon 8 Elite all the way, otherwise Nothing can do one, which is absolutely fair, because after all, if the Poco F7 Ultra can squeeze in the 8 Elite for a lot less cash than what the Nothing Phone 3 will allegedly cost on release, then yeah, why not? Aussie Jeans says, unrelated to the topic, but I was wondering if we'll get a Moto G56 review in the near future. Not in the near future, buddy, it's actually in the near past. Right now, that went live, I can't even remember when, like Monday, Tuesday time this week or something, so definitely go give that a good hard squint. Frankly, it's so good, it'll make your nipples spin. Here's Ford says, you're only 40, saints preserve us. Yeah, because they didn't bloody preserve me, that's for sure. Yeah, I've got that good old northern complexion going on. It's my daily diet of booze and peas pudding, gradually morphing my head into J.K. Simmons's scrotum. And Tillman99 says Steven Seagal's latest movie had him fighting in a chair. He was probably fighting with a chair, just trying to get out of the bastard. But yeah, like the last one I saw with him was literally just too fat to even really walk. He was just waddling about the place, just shooting baddies with a handgun. And his special move these days is clearing a room by violently farting. But I guess at least he hasn't done a diddy yet, or at least not as far as we know. Anyway, I'm about to be very late to go pick my daughter up from school, so better crack on. Next week, what the f*** is next week? Next week, more tech shit. Great stuff, you don't want to miss it. Like, subscribe, bell, etc. Cheers, love you!